Hello and what's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be taking a look at Ubisoft's Skull and Bones beta on the RTX 4090 paired with a Ryzen 7800X 3D. I already made two videos on this game looking at the RTX 3080 Ti and the RX 7900 XTX. I will leave a link in the description, but we're also going to use footage from those to compare how they compared to the 4090 briefly. But with that out of the way, let's look at the settings first. Going to be checking out 4K, obviously, and I'm using my LG C1 OLED TV, 120 Hz, and we've disabled FPS limit, and we've maxed out every setting and set to TAA native, although we will be checking out DLSS as well, and we've enabled Ray Trace Global Illumination. I'll also label the chapters below so you can skip around to whatever you're interested in. With that said, let's get in the game. Okay, now that we're in the game, I'm pretty much going to set sail towards my next mission, which has actually been kind of a pain to complete, but that's besides the point. So we're seem to be getting around 80 to 90 FPS here with the 4090 at 4K native. If I remember correctly, the 7900 XTX was getting around 60 to 70 and the 3080 Ti around 50 to 60. So the 4090 seems to be quite a bit ahead of the pack, unsurprisingly. I did want to mention that for a beta, this game is actually very well optimized. I've checked it now across a 5900X CPU, 7800X 3D, and 3 GPUs now, and it's been a very pleasant experience on all. Now here's when I approach the mission and I see another player, Devilinko, getting chased by these two ships. And having been in this situation multiple times and having gotten killed, I decided to give him a hand and try to help him out, essentially, and loot some of the stuff I need for my mission. Now, I don't know if we all get to loot the ship or if it's whoever loots it first gets it. I'm not sure how that works particularly. But I decided to give Devilinko a hand here, making sure not to hit him in the process because I needed help myself when I tried to do this previously. So this turned out to be a good thing because Devilinko ends up returning the favor a little bit later. And yeah, I ended up essentially being able to complete my mission. So right here is when Devilinko decides to give us a hand, which works out for us because we're able to take this enemy down without alerting the rest of the pack, and I'm able to loot and complete my mission. Now, one thing I did want to talk about and mention is that boarding ships in this game. This is how it works. You launch your harpoon and you get a little cutscene where your crew is pulling the enemy ship towards you, and you essentially just loot it. It's like like interacting with a corpse in other MMORPGs essentially. So unfortunately, it's not like Sea of Thieves, for example, where you can just jump. So your main avatar is your ship in this game. It seems your character avatar, your human, I guess. It's mostly you walk around pre-designated areas like cities and stuff like that. So that's how it seems to work. Before moving forward to look at DLSS, I just wanted to do a quick side-by-side and just compare the three GPUs I've tested so far, just for curiosity's sake. This here is some of the 4K native footage that I've captured on all these three cards, and even though it may not be the same exact spot of the map, it's out in the open ocean, and I feel it's fairly representative of how these cards compare. But if I was to do a more thorough comparison, I would put them exactly in the same spot. Fortunately, the game is almost done with the beta, so this is kind of what I'm going to do, so you guys just can see for yourselves how they compare, just out of curiosity. One thing that I find actually rather impressive is just how efficient the RTX 4090 actually is. Most of the case, but especially here, where it's not even really maxed out, so it looks like we might be a little CPU bound. Okay, now we're going to take a look at DLSS Quality. So we're going to change from TAA to DLSS Quality, and the rest of the settings are all the same. And yeah, we're getting around 130 FPS, which is great. The only unfortunate thing is that I'm using a C1 OLED TV, which only goes up to 120 Hz. So unfortunately, it can sometimes lead to a little bit of screen tearing, but it's not so bad. I mean, if I was to actually play the game, I would probably cap it at 120 FPS, but we still get the benefit of a little bit lower latency. The goal for me now is to essentially go back to Saint Anne, which is kind of a problematic area as far as performance optimization goes, but we're going to look at that towards the end of this video. But I'm trying to return back to the city to return my mission essentially and complete it. And what I decided to do was kind of navigate through these little islands to come around and go to the port. As you can see here, here's the little islands. I have to sort of navigate my way through them and make it to St. Anne. There is actually a first-person camera here, so let's check this one out because it's kind of immersive and it reminds me of a Black Flag a little bit. And yeah, I ended up crashing the boat because I was going way too fast. So the speed is in knots, as you can see at the bottom right there. You have 3 stages of it. You have low speed, and then sort of like a high speed or medium speed, you could call it. Then the next of it is like really high speed, but that consumes a stamina bar, essentially. Now you'll notice that I just picked up a rusty nail. So I wanted to talk about looting in this game. It's essentially stuff floats in the ocean. So it could be a shipwreck, or you could find logs and other materials. That's essentially how you loot things in this game. It could be a quest objective or whatever it might be. And then there's harvesting of resources. So you'll see here I'm about to harvest iron. And it's essentially a little mini game. You just click whenever the pickaxe is on green or yellow. If you click it when it's on green, you get more, yellow, less. And then if you miss, you don't get anything. Same thing goes for when you're cutting trees. Now, let's check out DLSS Balanced, since we get a good idea of what quality is like around 130, 120, 130 FPS. And with DLSS Balanced, we don't really get that much more, maybe 10, 20 more FPS here and there. And I believe we're CPU bound in this case because we can see the GPUs dropping well below 100. And power consumption is dropped to the mid 200s, low 200s. So it's a good indication that it is CPU bound. Or it could just be an optimization issue, which with time, I'm sure they're going to further improve the game. I kind of have faith in Ubisoft when it comes to optimization. Their games are usually well optimized. I've never had any stuttering problems with Ubisoft games. If it was Unreal Engine 5, I would be concerned. Saying that though, there is an area in this game that is the performance is not great, and that is St. Anne, which is the main city that we're headed to right now. And we're gonna check it out. So now we're about to enter the safe zone part of the harbor. So once you enter the safe zone, obviously you're safe. You can't attack other ships and you cannot be attacked. So this will be interesting to look at because this is a heavy CPU bound area. It's not great. And since we're now using a faster CPU than I was on my previous videos where I was using 5900X, will be interesting to see if the 7800 XCD does a bit better, which I'm pretty sure it will. Let's take a look. Alright, so this here is the infamous St. Anne, and right off the bat, the performance looks much better. But if you pay close attention, you will see that the GPU use is kind of very inconsistent, drop into the 80s, and as we make it further into the city, you will notice that it gets worse. However, it is definitely better than it was with the 5900X. If you were to look at my previous 2 videos in this city, it's all over the place. For example, on the 7900 XTX, it would drop down to the 40s and then go back to 70. That was a 4K native. Here we're still on DLSS Balanced, by the way. Just FYI. To be honest with you, I don't even understand why. Like, I mean, there is some players here. We will run into a couple players. But other than that, I mean, it's not like the place is packed full of NPCs and you know what I mean? So I don't understand why it's so heavy on the CPU and so inconsistent too. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I mean, it is still in beta. I will pass judgment when the final product is out. Because obviously this area is probably going to be packed full of players when the game fully launches, I would imagine. Why don't I go and return my mission though? And while we're at it, why don't I go back to 4K native? That way I can kind of like compare it to the previous GPUs I used as well. And hey, look at that. It's Devilinko, the player that we ended up helping out and helped us out. So that's interesting. So there we go. There's an actual player. And we're in the 90s of FPS. And actually it is rather consistent. that is very interesting. I was actually looking to see if I could give him a high five or something. Maybe there is emotes in the game, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, with the 7800X3D, guys, it is a lot more consistent. It really is. I mean, I will show a clip here of what it was running like on the 7900 XTX with the 5900X. This here is the 7900 XTX with the 5900X, and I actually had FSR set to balance here, and you can see the 7900 XTX is getting completely choked out here. You can see GPU uses all over the place. Like right now it catches up if you don't move, but then you move and then I don't know, it like slops around. And this here is a clip of the 3080 Ti with the 5900X, and it too is getting choked out, obviously. So yeah, a very CPU demanding area, running better on a better CPU. Obviously that is no surprise, but yeah, that's my only gripe with the game really as far as performance goes, is Saint Anne. Anyway though, let's get back to the focus of this video, the 4090 and 7800X3D. This has been a look at the performance of the game, playing it, and in its current state. I would say Saint Anne needs work, obviously, because not everybody has 7800X3Ds. People usually have, you know, last gen CPUs, most people even older CPUs. So I have faith that Ubisoft is going to make this better. With that out of the way, guys, I think this will be it for this video though. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did and you think it deserves it, give it a like. If you want to see more stuff like this, you can subscribe, and I will probably be looking at the 6800 XT next. Anyway, I want to thank you for watching the video, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Thanks for watching. Bye.